Carla Rabb DeRosa, and welcome to ZAMI NOBLA'S Plant Play. And I am so excited to be here. This is so exciting. This is our second session of a 4-session group. And before we did several recipes, we have several more recipes for you today. And I'm just excited to be here. This is all plant-based recipes. And the ones that I chose today are specifically fitting for the beginning of the year. We have a simple vegetable broth because I know some of us, including myself, would like to shed a few pounds and also build ourselves nutritionally. So that's going to be our first recipe today. A lot of people have been asking for desserts. So we're going to do a raw carrot cake. So a carrot cake with cream cheese icing that's completely raw. So it's some real benefits to having it raw. And we're using, of course, all natural ingredients as we focus on health. The last recipe of today is going to be what I call the Medusa Salad. So we make our own dressings with all natural ingredients, oil-free, you'll see. And also just kind of jazzing up the traditional salad, making it more interesting, texture-wise, using vegetables that sometimes we don't know what to do with. But before I get started, let me just tell you just a small bit about me. So I'm not a professional chef. How I got to this kitchen, to this kitchen island and this work is I had a lot of health issues. I was pre-diabetic. I was terribly inflamed. My digestion had broken down. And I started doing what we call now an elimination diet. I started eliminating different things to see if it was something that I was eating, because I had gone to the doctors and they didn't even know what to do. They had no answers for me. They offered me a whole bunch of tests and scopes and uppers and lowers and put some radiated barium enemas and things like that. And I was like, hold up, before that, let me try with my diet. Let me see if I could do better. Even though I was plant-based, I wasn't focused on raw and I wasn't focused on all natural and unprocessed. So I kind of shift my view on raw food. Before I was like, raw food, that could never be tasty. And now that's my mission in life, to have raw, healthy food be delicious and inviting and what I call sticky, meaning you think about it in the middle of the night and you want some the next day. Mm-hmm. So after I went raw for 10 days, I lost inflammation, I lost weight, my biometrics like my blood sugar and my blood pressure started to get more and more into balance. And I realized that was the missing piece. Although I wasn't eating meat, I wasn't eating healthy either. So this is 2026. So this is about 15 years of being on course with raw food, plant-based diet, and really more so it's a lifestyle. I run virtual cleanses, and as Marianne mentioned, I do coaching. But what I love the most is teaching, doing these demos. So let's get started. So we'll start with the simple vegetable broth. So the reason why I did this is because we all love soup. It's very cold. I'm in South Carolina, coastal islands, and it's cold here. So I know it's probably cold wherever you are. And I love soup in the wintertime. And this particular recipe is very low calorie. I calculated to be under 100 calories a serving, unless you add a little bit of oil to it. And some people do, some people don't. I'll talk to you about how you can do it like a no oil or low oil version. So let me go through the ingredients. Very simple. So you can always season it with your seasons at home, adding things to it, and you probably will. I want you to, but this is the base recipe, which you will get in your email. You'll have it all written out. But what you need is a medium onion, rough chopped, so like medium size, 3 garlic cloves. Also use nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is kind of like a vegan food additive that is natural. A lot of times it is enhanced with B vitamins, but the point to it is to add a savory flavor that most plant-based foods, you don't really have that savory flavor. So also some people feel like it's like cheesy, like has a cheesy flavor, and they add it to their popcorn as well. So we're going to use 3 bay leaves, pepper, salt, cumin. I also use garlic powder and onion powder, 2 tablespoons each. So really, I have my cabbage as well. And I also have a spice blend that I'm going to use. So really, you see those soup packs that you get? And when you think of it, a lot of the seasonings in it is high sodium. So even though I'm using salt, I'm using pink Himalayan salt, much different than white iodized salt. And we talked about that before. And that's one of my missions, is to get people away from white iodized salt. And in anything processed, anything in a bag or a can, they're going to be using white iodized salt that has been heated up to 20,000 degrees and is actually not even classified as a food. And that's why they add iodine back to it so that the FDA can say it's a food, but it's really not. And we all know that it causes high blood pressure, it causes water retention, and it just causes all sorts of imbalances in the body. So that's why I like to make my own soup broth, because the soup broths that you're buying, they're going to have the salt that drives your blood pressure up. And especially for most of us, you know, as mature women, we don't want that blood pressure up. That's very dangerous. We want to be able to keep our blood pressure within the normal range. And when we use salts like pink Himalayan salt and Celtic salt, they specifically are bound with minerals, which allows them to be absorbed in our body as food, where again, the white iodized salt doesn't. Okay, so this quick little soup recipe, I'm going to do it first because we're going to let the soup simmer, we're going to take our garlic and our onions and our cabbage, and we're going to let that caramelize with our seasonings. So I'm going to just do it in a soup pot. You can use just a 1 pot, and that's what I love, just a 1 pot system. If I'm cooking something, that I try to layer it so that I'm not transferring from pot to pot if I don't have to. So I like to start with just a little bit of avocado oil. So we're going to use 2 tablespoons of avocado oil. But also, if you wanted to do a no oil version, you can caramelize your cabbage, onions, and garlic without any oil. You could do it with water. It just takes a little bit longer, but you don't have to use oil. We talked a lot about oil in the last session, so I won't rehash everything we said, but just in general, the oils that I am cooking with and trusting in most right now is the avocado oil and the coconut oil. And I was working at the Living Foods Institute, and we did a lot of work with oil and understanding oils. There's a lot of imposter oils, and there are a lot of oils on the market marketed as vegetable oils, and they do have a hardening effect on our arteries. And so that's why I'm very selective in the handling of the oil and also the source of the oil. All right, so I'm going to put the onions and the garlic, the cabbage, and the bay leaves. And I'm gonna get that started. So you see, oops. Was that my bay leaf? Did my bay leaves jump out? No, that was just some cabbage. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna get that started, and I'm gonna start that on high. And as it starts to caramelize, I'll show you like the process of how it starts to break down. And then we're just gonna add our 6 cups of water, and then we're going to be, that's gonna be our soup, and we'll let it simmer. So I like to get the vegetables going, and then I'll add the seasonings to it. And then I'll show you how it goes. So we're gonna let the vegetables heat up, and we're gonna start getting ready for the raw carrot cake and the cream cheese icing. So I'm gonna go over those ingredients as I let my vegetables heat up. So the raw carrot cake, it includes 3 cups of carrots. So this is approximately 3 cups. Now, what makes the carrot cake a little bit more like a medium complexity in recipe is that half your carrots are going to be shredded and half of your carrots are going to be ground. So, and of course, I'll show you that. We got our soaked dates. This is going to be the sweetener for our carrot cake. And we're going to use dates. So dates obviously are sweet, but they come with a lot of fiber. So it slows down the absorption of the sugar into your blood sugar. So you don't have the blood sugar spikes. Also, of course, you can't have carrot cake without walnuts. Absolutely. So you can see that the walnuts here have been soaked. So this is 1 cup of walnuts, and I've soaked it in water. And as I'm waiting for my vegetables, they're starting to sizzle over here. I want to talk to you about why in raw food you're going to soak your nuts. Walnuts, almonds, sesame seeds, these nuts we use a lot in raw food. We use a lot in health food. If you're using them raw, which we are in this recipe, you have to soak them to get the anti-nutrient off of it. So if you think about it, nuts grow on the trees, and the time when the nuts fall down and they're easier to open is after a heavy rain. So it's kind of like nature's signal that they're safe to eat. So the same thing with raw nuts. So the difference with cooked nuts, with roasted nuts, the cooking actually takes off the anti-nutrient. But in this case, when we're using raw nuts, we have to soak off the anti-nutrient. And in this recipe, it doesn't take that long to soak it. Some recipes, you'll see raw recipes that say, oh, soak it overnight. You could just soak it for a couple hours. I just got this started this morning, and I was soaking it this morning, and you could see that this color, and especially in almonds, you can see it, that is the anti-nutrient. So that is the part of the nut that you want to take off, because if you eat a lot of raw nuts, and this has happened to people who want to do more of a raw food lifestyle, and they just start substituting nuts for meat. So they're eating a lot of nuts, which are very, very high fat, which is not necessarily bad. But if you're using like a lot of nuts to make nut meat and things like that, you've got to soak them so that your body doesn't get bombarded with these anti-nutrients that are in raw nuts. So you're going to soak your nuts, and you're going to drain them. So I'm going to drain the walnuts for the carrot cake. and you want to get even more of the anti-nutrient off, you'll just keep rinsing them. Okay. All right. So our vegetables, you're not here in the room, but I'm here with my friend Lisa. And Lisa, would you come on camera and just say hello? She's helping me. She's assisting me today. She's a master Reiki instructor, a very well-respected and loved woman in our community here in St. Helena. So you'll hear her in the background. She's helping me out today. But this smells good, doesn't it? Great. Okay. And I want to show them. So it's not completely broken down, but you can see you're getting brown edges. So you start on high and you're starting to get your brown edges. So you're starting to get your caramelization. So that's what you're looking for, a brown caramel color. This is going to create the color for your soup. All right. So when I get it about halfway caramelized, then that's when I add my seasonings. So the garlic, the onion powder, the salt, the pepper, and I love the cumin and the nutritional yeast. I think that's what adds a lot of the nice savory flavor. Now, on the instruction sheet for the recipe, you'll see it says optional flavors or spices, basil, oregano, things like that. So I have this Italian spice mix. I also use like Spanish spice mix. Any of your like herbs that have been dried, of course, with everything, and this kind of goes without saying, if you can get organic is best. And I use these spice mixes, and I say, you can use like a 1/4 teaspoon, and I just kind of freehand. This is my favorite one. So I kind of have an idea how it's going to play out. But this would be the same if you just did it with a little bit of water. You do not have to use oil, but I recommend oil. I like the way the oil breaks down with the caramelization. And also, I think that we need more oils for our brains than we thought. I grew up in the 80s when everything was low fat and no fat, and so many people are having brain issues. It's my theory that we missed the boat on dietary fats and started blaming them. But if you can see, it's starting to cook down. It's starting to caramelize. And what was that? Like maybe 10 minutes? All right. All right. So what I'm going to do now for our soup is I'm going to add our 6 cups of water. And I'm just going to now turn it down and just let it simmer. And that's going to be your quick soup broth. Now you could, once it cooks down, oh, it smells so good. Once it cooks down for a while, you could strain out the vegetables and just have the broth. You can use the broth in so many different ways and so many different recipes. And also you could have it for your breakfast. We're seeing more and more research that having something hot in the morning, like what's trending now is like my Chinese lifestyle. And people are doing, people who are into ketos are doing their bone broth soup in the morning. People are doing vegetable broth in the morning. And I think it's very powerful. I love it. And that's what I was doing. So I was like, I want to show this off. I want to showcase how easy it is and simple it is to make your own soup that is technically low sodium. Because even though I used the pink Himalayan salt, I get to control how much I'm using. It's not like just buying some soup mix off the shelf that has a lot of chemicals in it. All right. Any questions about the soup as it simmers? Any come up? Any bubble up? Nope. Okay.
We
Back
don't
to
have any about the. Oh, we do have. Someone asked. You added 2 tablespoons of something to the soup, and they missed that. And then
two
Marianne
tablespoons
also.
of, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then Marianne also asks, are the vegetables organic, and how long did you soak the nuts?
Okay. So the in the soup broth, you have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. That's what I kind of coated the pan to get it started, but also have 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of onion powder.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, organic when possible. Of course, you know, when we're talking about organic, we're talking about vegetables that have minimal or no. And I say minimal because some vegetables do, even though they're organic, get pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides put on them. Some of the crops cannot be grown without it. So when you see the USDA stamp, organic, still know that they're handled, so they do have some processing. Where you're going to probably get the cleanest vegetables are at local farm stands, and I highly recommend it. It's better for the economy to work with local farmers when you can. And there's all sorts of directories for local farmers and farm stands. But yes, there are times when you're not going to a farm stand, you're going to the grocery store and you end up buying conventional. And so we have to do what we have to do, right? So we sometimes we have to have conventional, but if your base is organic, and people complain because they can be, a little bit more expensive, but I'm like, you either pay now or you pay later. Because what's happening is when they're not organic, you're taking in small amounts of pesticides over time. And most of them have trace metals. And these trace metals can hurt our bodies in so many ways, especially in our brains. So clean as possible. But we know it's not perfection. It's what we can do. And also the real winner is to grow our own. So did I capture all the 2 tablespoons, the organic, and there was another question?
Yes, how long did you soak the
Oh,
nuts?
how long did I soak these nuts? These nuts were soaked for 2 hours. Yes. Okay. So our soup is going. We're moving on. I was going over the ingredients for our raw carrot cake. So we got the water, the anti-nutrient water off of our walnuts. And also we're going to be using coconut shreds, but unsweetened. So these are organic and unsweetened. So that's very important. You don't want to get the sweetened ones, and those are the ones that you see most of the time, but they add unnecessary sugar because we already have our soaked dates. So we don't want that sugar. Okay. And we're going to also, so with the dates, notice that I didn't drain those yet because I do want to keep the water. In fact, Lisa, can you drain them for me and keep the water? Just put the water in something. We're going to use a half a cup of raisins. Raisins are adding the sweetness to our carrot cake. And I have my nutmeg, which is a 1/4 teaspoon. This is very important to me, a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. That is my favorite spice of all times. Cinnamon, we're going to have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. And that is actually all of the ingredients for our carrot cake. All right, so let me show you what we're going to do. So this is my salad master. So I don't know how much they are now, but these are kind of costly, but they're like a lifetime processor. They don't need any electricity. They don't rust. And you have different types of cuts that you can use. I love my Salad Master. And so we'll be using this for our salad as well. But let me just show you how we're going to do half the carrots with shredding. So I got it on my shredding setting, and I'm just going to shred 1.5 cups of the carrots. And another reason why I love my raw carrot cake recipe is that you have a delicious dessert that everybody loves. But you're going grain-free, which I am going grain-free. Even though I had been raw, I was doing grains. And recently, and I think I spoke about this in the last session, I was working with a functional MD, and she was saying that I was very allergic to grains. And so, as a plant-based person, of course, I'm doing oats, I'm doing rice, I'm doing wheat. And so that was in November. And honestly, it's been a deal changer, especially for my menopause symptoms, my sweating, mood, especially my digestion. My digestion has just really smoothed out just by removing grains. And so, of course, this is a grain-free recipe for your carrot cake. So I just shred it. You can see how fine. This is why I love the Salad Master. So finely shredded carrots. All right. I'm going to add my chopped walnuts that were soaked. And actually, I forgot her name, but there's a beautiful woman, and I used to call her, elder. Now I think we're not that much apart. So she's an elder. I guess I'm a junior elder, but and I forgot her name, but she lives in Chicago, and she's a raw foodist. And actually, she has a book all about it's called Soak Your Nuts. And it's all about the anti-nutrients that you have to get off of your nuts to be able to use them properly in raw food. The other part of it is not to make it too confusing, but cashews. Oh, thank you. Cashews are not technically raw. So when you use cashews, you do not have to soak them. But with walnuts, definitely you do. And if you've ever had wines that have what they call high tannins and they taste bitter, it's the same thing. The nuts have tannins, and that's the anti-nutrient, and especially on almonds and walnuts. All right, so we're going to put the chopped walnuts with the shreds. We're going to add the raisins and the coconut shreds. So you can see I have the base ingredients here for a carrot cake. Okay, so now I'm going to make my carrot cake batter. Okay, so the carrot cake batter is just 2 ingredients. It's going to be the carrots and the dates using the date water. Okay, so I guess that's technically 3 ingredients if you're counting the water. And that's one of the things that I love about raw food. As you can see, and plant-based food in general, like you can see, I'm just kind of playing with my ingredients. It's not necessarily exact science. I'll have some water on the side to add to get to the texture that I want. But sometimes your carrots can be really dry. You need a little bit more water. Sometimes they're very watery and soft. You don't need as much water. And I'm kind of an imprecise person, so that kind of goes with me. So the carrot, the rest of the carrots, and your dates, and we're going to start. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to start with just a little bit of water. Because remember last time we talked about you can always add more salt, more water. You can always add it. So that's why you start with just a small amount. So, oh, that's a good point. So the recipe calls for 1 cup of dates. So, and yesterday when I made my carrot cake in advance, and actually let me show them. It took, they were juicier dates, so it was like 10 dates. So this is the result of the carrot cake and the cream cheese icing. And so, but today I needed more dates because they were drier. So that's the exact point that I'm trying to make. When you're working with raw food, you're working with produce that has its own characteristics, and you just have to be kind of tuned into them, versus saying, oh, it exactly needs this amount of water. Well, you don't know. These dates were much drier. So I'm going to blend this up, these carrots and dates, soaked dates, and I'm going to add water as I need it. But what I'm trying to get to is a thick cake batter. So very similar to a box cake or a cake that you're making from scratch. You want like a thick cake batter. Okay, so I got my cake batter. It's pretty thick. I'm going to go ahead and add my ginger, nutmeg, cardamom to my cake batter. Because I'm almost to the texture that I want. Thanks. Yeah, this is a nice thick texture. Like if you can see it, it's pourable, but it's thick, and it's just the carrots and the dates. And I'm going to add that directly into my shredded carrots, shredded coconut, raisins, and soaked walnuts. So one of the good things about raw carrots is, for some reason, it's very anti-parasitic. So as you can see, you can make them into balls and have them for breakfast. And it would definitely, like the carrot cake breakfast balls, it will help you on a digestive level, because it will help run out parasites that are in the digestive tract. And that's a good size for, maybe 1 or 2 with your for your breakfast. But you mix it together, and we're almost ready to make your cake. So let me show you how this looks. So you see how, oh, thank you. So you see how formable this is? We're actually gonna make a cake. So any questions about the cake?
Yes. Let's see. Someone wants the information for the salad processor afterwards. So if you can send us the link and we can send that out. Someone else asked, could you use pecans instead? And then someone asked, is there a specific type of dates that you use?
Okay. So, okay, we'll get the information on the salad master. What was the second question again?
What about using pecans instead of
Oh, pecans. Yes, you can use pecans in your recipe. And, some people have nut allergies. You don't have to use nuts. You could use macadamia. Yes, you could definitely change your nuts. This is like 1 layer. The recipe will actually make 2 layers. And what was the last question? Or the next question?
What type, is there a specific type of dates that you use?
Medjool dates are some of the best dates, but I've played around with different types of dates. I think I did use Medjool dates. The dates I used yesterday in the recipe it was a different species, but um yeah, Medjool is what you'll probably see most likely. But I'm so glad you asked about the dates because to me, it's not so much of the species of the date, it's how you handle dates. So so dates, I'm not going to tell you exactly where they come from because then you might not want to eat them, but you do want to be mindful of them because of course, you have to take out the pit. The pit is not digestible, and the pit is so hard that it will actually break your blender. So even if they are supposed to be pitted dates, I wouldn't trust it. I would look at every date. So that's the rule for you working with dates is that you want to look at every date. When you open them up, these are not pitted. Here's the pit. You take it out and you want to lay them down. You want to count your pits and count your dates because if you get a pit in, let's say your cake batter is gone. You can't use it because they'll break your teeth. They'll break your blender. They are so hard. And also, the process that a date goes through is it comes from a flower. So you want to make sure that when you open it, nobody's in there. Sometimes you got critters in there, and sometimes you can have mold in your dates because they can last a long time. A lot of them don't even have printed expiration dates, but you really want to check it out. So I'm so glad you asked about the dates because there are a lot of precautions, a lot of ways you want to think about working with dates, but most importantly, count your pits. Even if they say they're already pitted, check them and make sure they don't have any critters or mold inside of them. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move into the icing. Let me check on my soup. It's looking good over here.
One more
Smelling
question
so
about the
good.
dates. Can you use date powder?
I do not know. I have not used date powder, but one of the things that I'm working on is like I am going back and looking at the research for different sweeteners. So there was a time, it's just like the whole research with the oil. My opinion of these things change as we do more research. So I so date powder is essentially date sugar. So for me, I will have to in the future like look at the glycemic index impact of date sugar versus fresh dates. And I can already even tell you that it's going to be a difference. These dates that I was demoing for you already had crystallization. So they were already turning into sugar. Date powder is going to be a more even refined level of sugar. So that's what I'm doing now is kind of going through and saying stevia, even though it's no calorie, does it have an impact on blood sugar? And some of these things that I'm noticing in the past, I used to think that, oh, these are good sweet substitutes, but they have such an impact on our insulin levels, on our how we respond sugar-wise in terms of producing insulin in the body. And when we produce insulin in the body is put into fat storage mode automatically. So it's the opposite of being like in ketosis. So just off the top of my head, I would say I would be a no to date sugar or date powder. I think that the date The fresh dates, or I should say the dry dates, would be more of a slower sugar release. All right, so I'm going to move on to the icing. Coconut oil. I'm going to use my bullet because we don't really need that much. But the cream cheese icing, I want it to taste a little bit cheesy. So what will we use in the vegan world when we want something to taste a little cheesy? Anybody say anything, Lauren? Anybody have the answers?
Not yet.
Not yet? Lisa said it.
Nutritional yeast.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to use vanilla extract, nutritional yeast. And one of the things I would recommend when we do use our coconut oil is to try to get the unrefined. It's less processed. A little bit of salt. So the recipe calls for cashews, which don't have to be soaked, but I ran out of cashews in my demo when I was practicing yesterday. And most of the cashews that you get in the stores are roasted. For the most part, you'll have to order your raw cashews. But remember what I said earlier, your raw cashews are not even really raw. So we have our cashews, which I added a little bit of soaked walnuts. We're going to use honey as our sweetener in our icing, 1/3 cup of honey. And I have a whole honey presentation, but I'll just give you the thumbnail. I like wildflower honey that's local. And also it helps to build up a resistance to, ragweeds and other wild things in your environment. So I would stick to local honeys when you can, to give it just a little bit of a sharp. Is 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And now the coconut oil. That is brand new, so I gotta kind of dig into it. But the measurement for it is 2/3 cup. Let's get this icing going. So this recipe calls for 1/4 cup of water. And I just kind of, again, you can always add, but you can't take it out. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of water because we want a smooth consistency. So I do like to let the cake and the icing set. I mean, I can see where it could get a little bit smoother, but I do like the consistency. And that's about what you want. I like it to be able to pour it on there, smooth it out. Then I'll put it in the refrigerator and set. And very important, your carrot cake balls and your carrot cake, they are raw. So you want to store it in the refrigerator. And it's going to last about 3 or 4 days. And after that, it's a wrap. It's compost food. And I didn't even taste this. You taste the icing? Good?
Oh, that's really good.
She said it's really good. Yeah, the lemon juice and the honey. But again, it's all natural. And then you have all those shredded carrots that are going to help clean out your digestive system. Show everybody. Ooh, I don't want my balls to roll away. But of course, we're going to wipe the plate up, but you can get a sense of just how easy it is. You just need your cake batter and your core ingredients, the coconuts, the carrot shreds, the nuts, and the raisins.
Simple.
Very simple and very delicious. Any questions?
Someone asked, would persimmons work instead of dates? And then also suggested that you can find raw cashews in little grocery store chains, a German supermarket chain. If you have
Oh,
one.
that's great. Yeah, I don't think we have that here, but that's great. Yeah. The fun fact, cashews are actually a little bit poisonous. They're in the English ivy family. So everyone is steamed to be able to bring it to market. And so that's why you don't have to soak them, because the anti-nutrient is already steamed off. So yeah, if you can find them for a good price in a grocery store, that's great. Most of them I see are roasted. And when they're roasted, when your cashews are roasted, it changes the macronutrient aspect of them. So when they're raw, right? When they're when they're labeled raw, they haven't been roasted, they're mostly fat and then protein. But after they're roasted, they shift to a sugar. So they're mostly carb, then a fat, then a protein. So it changes the macronutrient breakdown.
So we're glad we have a farmer's market here in Georgia where we can go to the farmer's market. They also have them at Kroger's.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. So now I'm going to move into our entree, which is our Medusa salad. I'm going to move this back until I get ready for it. We're going to make the salad first.
Carla, I think there was one more question about persimmons. Could you use those?
I'm sorry.
For dates?
I have not. That would be a great experiment. I did have some persimmons over the holidays. And the ones that I had, they did not have the sweetness that I think that would balance out the carrots. I mean, if I think it would be a great experiment to try. I mean, I think they would blend well into the batter. I just don't know about the sweetness. So I would say try it. Sounds good. You can always add something for a sweetener. All right. So you know how we always talk about Caesar salad? Well, if you haven't noticed, we're moving more into this is the age of the Aquarius where we focus on the goddess. So that's where the Medusa salad comes in. So we're also going to use romaine lettuce, just like the other salad, but you don't have to. We're going to use so many different vegetables, you wouldn't even miss your romaine. But I always break my whole head of romaine down because sometimes there's little critters at the bottom. So just don't wash the outside and keep it pushing. I would definitely break it down. You're going to chop it into medium pieces, 1 to 2 inches, and that'll be your base. But we're going to have so many things going on. If you don't have romaine, that's fine. We're also going to use some cabbage. So raw cabbage has L-glutamine, which is amino acid that is really good for healing your gut. And that's one of the things that a lot of us have from eating so much sugar and having latent candida overgrowth is we have a permeable gut, a leaky gut. So cabbage has L-glutamine. So it's really good in healing and tightening up the gut, especially having a salad like this that is highly alkaline. That's going to help reverse candida overgrowth as well. So I just like to take just a little bit and, just get it as thin as possible, because even though the L-glutamine is good for your stomach lining, sometimes raw cabbage can be hard to digest. So just get it as skinny as possible. Just show you, I was just almost like shaving it with a sharp knife, getting them very, very thin, like almost like noodle thin. Okay, and you'll see there's a theme. We're gonna do a lot of thin cuts, because in raw food, the more work you do on the chopping board, the less you have to do in your digestion. And also you're opening up the produce to get more of the phytonutrients. So thinly shaved cabbage. We talked a little bit last time about sweet potatoes. So I advocate a lot, and I do a lot of recipes with raw sweet potatoes. And the reason why is raw sweet potatoes are very supportive of the pancreas. And we have to really be mindful of our pancreas health, because pancreas is what regulates the sugar. And we know that diabetes is an epidemic, and prediabetes is an epidemic as well in this country. So the more we can do to protect our pancreas by having raw sweet potatoes, the better. So we're going to do some raw sweet potato noodles, right? So this is my spiralizer. These are no more than $20, maybe $25. Again, manual, mechanical, non-electric way of processing your food. And I see these all the time at yard sales. I mean, not even opened. I think people see people demonstrate with these and they get all excited, but at the end of the day, they don't get used. And so thank you. Yep, that's perfect. So that's one of the reasons why these are really easy to find. And sweet, raw sweet potatoes, just like I broke down that carrot, you could break it down and I have a recipe in my raw food book for sweet potato pie, raw sweet potato pie. You could shred it just like we shredded the carrot. So now today we're making raw sweet potato noodles. And these noodles, actually, I'm going to put some in the salad, but we can put them also in our soup. They're very soft. You can see that they're like sweet potatoes, are very hard, right? But using the spiralizer, the way it's shaving it, they're very soft, and they'll get softer in your soup broth. Lisa was asking me if the noodles are soft because I was soaking the sweet potato, and actually no, the sweet potato is still very hard to cut. I had it in water because I peeled it, and it will oxidize very quickly, and so it's not that pretty. But the soaking, I only had it in water for a few minutes. But yeah, so those are our noodles, our sweet potato noodles that I highly recommend for your pancreas to help you be able to, over time, we become insensitive to our own insulin. So it helps the pancreas stay sensitive to when you have a lot of sugar coming into your body so that it's managed and you don't necessarily just go into fat storage mode. I also use the spiralizer for our zucchini. You can also use it for your cabbage. So I picked the zucchini. I'm keeping my eye on the time. We have one more blended recipe, the dressing. And you see how soft and watery this is? I love it. But the zucchini is really good, again, for your gut. Has a lot of fiber, has a lot of water. As we get older, especially as women, we go into menopause. Our thyroid is not as powerful as it used to be. Our metabolism slows down. A lot of times we get constipated a lot. So zucchini helps to fill your colon with a lot of bulk, a lot of fiber, and it's really good for your digestion. It's really good to keep your colon cleansed. This is so much more exciting than, just a lettuce. When you think of salad, you think of lettuce. No, you use all of your vegetables. And a lot of times we'll have zucchini and we're like, what to do with that? You make some zucchini noodles and you can, we'll save some to put into our soup and you make a salad out of it. Okay. Very similar properties that zucchini has. Just like, the yellow squash has, just like zucchini, it has a lot of fiber. It helps with keeping the bowels regular, very, very full of water. And to me, just visually, it's just more interesting, than your typical salad. And then also, this is a broader blade making wider noodles. But these noodles also can be used in placement of your grain noodles. And I told you about the raw food carrot cake and how it helps you be grain-free with your desserts. Same thing. This helps you be grain-free when you're doing pasta, when you're doing Alfredos and marinaras. You don't have to use, pasta made from wheat that have a lot of pesticides, the glyphosates, or made of rice that's going to spike up that blood sugar. You can use pasta that comes from a yellow squash or comes from a zucchini, and it will keep your blood sugar more balanced. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit of a cucumber. I don't know about this wide blade with the cucumber, but we'll see. Cucumbers, highly alkaline. So that helps bone strength. Anytime your body is inundated with acid, so that's going to be your grains, your meat, it's going to pull a little bit of minerals from your bones. The more alkaline your body is, the more your minerals are more evenly distributed. They don't have to rush in and try to neutralize your blood, because your blood pH is going to stay and it will sacrifice everything. So that's why it's nice to have alkaline, vegetables. And the cucumber is one of the most alkaline, and it has a lot of water. So that's going to help with your skin, and that's going to help with your digestion. Yeah, this salad is getting really, really pretty. So your cucumbers, your zucchini, yellow squash, cabbage, and I'm going to do some carrots. Can you shred some carrots for me? And then I'm going to start working on the dressing so we can wrap this thing up and I can plate this thing. But before I make the dressing, I'm going to get us some soup. this soup is about ready. It's been on low for about an hour, but really, even after a few minutes of simmering, it's ready. So we got our vegetable noodle soup here. So you see the rich color. This came from your caramelization. And you have your vegetables, you have your softened carrots, and then we added the other noodles. So very full body, it'll get you full, but very low calorie, high nutrients. Another thing I want to add to our salad is alfalfa sprouts. So perhaps in another lesson, we could do some sprouting because we can actually sprout ourselves these micro sprouts, which are highly nutrient dense. So alfalfa sprouts and broccoli sprouts. So the broccoli sprouts are used a lot in therapies where people are healing or warding off cancer cells. There's been a lot of research on broccoli sprouts in terms of being helpful to the body to learn how to make healthy cells. So a lot of there's a conference that I go to, Annie Appleseed, and they talk a lot about broccoli sprouts. So that will really energize and add more nutrients to your salad. You could always add tomatoes. Sugar snap peas is one of my favorites for a jazzy salad. Yep, that's great. And we got our carrot shreds. All right, so we have a beautiful, beautiful salad here. And I'll plate it once I get some dressing going. So the last recipe is our Medusa dressing. We have a cup of soaked walnuts. And of course, we're going to drain them. We got our water, which we'll see how much water we need. We'll see how it works out. But it asks for 2.5 cups, and it's like plus or minus. So again, you're going to be playing with your texture. So we got our 1 cup of soaked walnuts, and I kind of poured it in there fast, but after they soaked for 2 hours, they actually yielded more than just the 1 cup of dried walnuts. So it's actually expanding your resources when you soak your nuts, which you really need to, especially if you're using raw. We got 3 tablespoons of our nutritional yeast. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of mustard. And I like the ground mustard. I like the stone ground mustard. I think it tastes so much better, but you can use whatever mustard you like. 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 2 small cloves of garlic, and a small onion. So this is actually like a half of a medium onion to make it small. I'm gonna rough cut it. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Remember, we start small. You could go back and add more salt if you need it. And so let me see, my water. So I'm gonna add, a 1/2 cup of water. So I'm gonna start with 1/3. Remember, you can always add. See how juicy my onion is. Let me test the dressing. I want it to be nice and thick, right? But I want it to be pourable. So yeah, we're getting there. Just a little bit more. Let me have you taste it. It's good. Yes, she says it's lots of flavor. Now, to me, it could use a little bit more sodium, but we're gonna start slow. We started low, And I'm adding some cilantro, and I'm just gonna fold in the cilantro because I want my cilantro chunks. If I blended it, the whole thing would be green. It would be more like green goddess dressing. This is more like, yeah, Medusa dressing. Absolutely. So it's pourable, oil-free, because we used our walnuts as our fat, and you used your apple cider vinegar and a little bit of your mustard as your as your acid. But there we go. All right, and I'm gonna plate my salad. Another thing that I would recommend, you could use your culinary scissors to cut your noodles as well. But this is just so beautiful. And you're getting so much fiber, so much water, highly alkaline. You could add onions. You can cut up your noodles a little bit. Just going to put a little bit of dressing on top. And we're ready to go. Medusa salad, simple vegetable broth. We added noodles, carrot cake, raw vegan, and lots of salad to share. Any questions?
Yes. We have a question. Are carrots good for type 2 diabetes?
Are carrots good? Well, I mean, carrots do have their own sugar, but they're also filled with fiber. So, I mean, the raw carrot cake is a dessert. So if someone has, sugar imbalance, you want to do it very much in moderation. You saw in the ingredients that we have dates, raisins, which are your dried fruits, and also honey. So I wouldn't say it's a sugar-free dessert. It definitely has sugar, natural sugars. So if you're someone who's monitoring your sugars, I would do very little of that.
Okay, and the next one, someone mentioned that cardamom is one of their favorite spices. What are some of the other ways that you like to use it?
I like to make tea out of cardamom. I use it like baked potatoes, baked sweet potatoes. I like it. I'm not doing it now because I'm not doing grains, but rice pudding, I would use cardamom. And I like cardamom. I like the way it smells. So sometimes I'll just boil it in the house just for like the cardamom pods. I'll just boil them in the house. But I do make teas out of it. And another favorite way is I'll make my own like chai blend with nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, and some kind of nut milk, like coconut milk. And I'll make like a chai latte. And the cardamom is the main ingredient along with ginger.
Well, we have 1 minute left, so let's show Carla some love.